Welcome, everybody, to the Week 6 version of Nerding Out with Nic Bodiford. My name is Nic Bodiford. The date is October 14th, 2022. Today, we're going to do something a little bit differently than we have in the past few weeks. We're going to talk rest of season strategies. We have 5 weeks of information, 5 weeks of data, 5 weeks of film in the books, and we've learned a lot. So what should we be doing moving forward, starting in the AFC, specifically the AFC East? James Cook is an ad for me, and I was very in on James Cook during the draft process. He has been slow to start, and I was starting to kind of question myself. And then this week on Stealing Bananas, the Ben Gretsch, Sean Siegel show, they cited him as a guy that you might want to think about, and I was rejuvenated in my excitement over James Cook. Basically, his efficiency on a per touch basis, I think, is tops like in nearly every metric in the Buffalo Bills backfield: yards after contact, per reception, yards per out run, targets per out run, all that kind of stuff. He so far is getting sparing usage in the 2-minute drill, but it is promising that he's getting that. Devin Singletary is in the driver's seat, but I think that Cook is an extremely high upside guy. And given what he has or has not done as of late or at all this year, I think that the fantasy manager who might have him, or maybe he's a free agent, could be willing to let the guy go for less than what he or she got him for in the draft. Buffalo Bills slot receivers, Jamison Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie were splitting slot reps this year through the first 4 weeks. Crowder broke his ankle. Crowder, strangely, was stretching the field. He had an ADOT of around 9-something yards. McKenzie, meanwhile, was a little bit over 6. Khalil Shakir filled in for both of them last week because McKenzie had a concussion, and Shakir, his ADOT was like 16. The dude's a blazer. What this offense does is they use one guy out of the slot to work the short area of the field, and then one guy to stretch it vertically up the seam. Khalil Shakir, rookie, he's got a lot more juice than what Crowder could bring. And I think he caught 3 of 5 or 6 targets for 75 yards and a touchdown last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think he's going to do that every week, but Khalil Shakir, I am starting him in 12-team leagues this week. Not all of them, but the over-under set for Buffalo, Kansas City at 54 points. It's a bit of a gamble, but a field stretcher up the seam in what's going to be a shootout, I like it, and I think that Shakir is going to have a lot of value moving forward. I also think that that McKenzie is a great wide receiver 4 or 5 moving forward as well. The trade window is kind of closed on Breece Hall. If you can still get him, do it. I mean, he's dominating the passing down work. He way out snapped Michael Carter in the 2-minute drill last week. He has third down locked up. He is, probably the dynasty RB1, like over Jonathan Taylor, because the difference between them is that Jonathan Taylor, he gets passing game work, but he doesn't dominate third down in the 2-minute drill. Breece Hall does, and he's a beast. He's not as good of a pure rusher as Jonathan Taylor, but anyway, if you can still get Hall, I would totally do it. I would buy high. By the New York Jets wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, he is fantastic. Elijah Moore is fantastic. He's had a really low year, and I think you can get him for nickels. Raheem Mostert down in Miami, he's dealing with a knee injury. He's going to play this week, but we're used to Mostert, who's I think like 31. I'll double check that right here, but we're used to Mostert like having some sort of issue. He's 30 years old. We're used to him having some sort of issue. It is now reared its ugly head. It's a knee injury. He had like a quarter-sized piece of cartilage taken out of his knee or replaced. That's massive in your knee. Think about a quarter coming out of your knee. That is massive. So I would buy low on Chase Edmonds. Tyquan Thornton, New England Patriots. Tyquan Thornton is a 4.3 speed athlete. He is tall, a little lanky. They were using him very effectively in the preseason to stretch the field, but they also got him going on short and intermediate routes. He's back. He came off of injured reserve or PUP and immediately played last week. That is a fantastic sign. They need him out there. They want him out there. I think that he will challenge Jacoby Myers for the number 1 wide receiver role by the end of the year, and I think he safely will be the number 1 or number 2 over Devontae Parker within a week or 2. AFC West, buy Sky Moore. I'm saying it every week. None of these Kansas City wide receivers are separating. Juju Smith-Schuster is getting like exactly like 8 targets a week, and he's not doing a whole lot. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. That could change this week, but Sky Moore, man, the dude, his profile is an X receiver in the NFL, and no one is getting the job done here. I'll take the time here to just double check when their bye is, because I do think that the bye week is like, you need to have Sky Moore on your roster before the bye. Okay, so the bye is week 8, so it's fast approaching, but this could be the week that his blow up game occurs. Kansas City running backs, CEH, he's kind of just doing it all. He's getting some passing down work. He's rushing very effectively. Isaiah Pacheco has a really big scoring position role carved out for him, though, so he needs to be rostered as well. You could start him as a desperation play this week, again, with the 54-point total game. Jerick McKinnon really dominating snaps. I think he actually might have outsnapped the backfield last week. Go double check that yourself, but his snap count was very high. He's getting work in scoring position. He's on the field in scoring position. Here's the thing. McKinnon's got a high snap count. His touch count is not quite at the same level that you'd want it to be. But again, this is a good week to start McKinnon. I'm starting him as a running back 2 in one of my managed leagues. It also might be a sell high point for McKinnon after this week, but they trusted him in the playoffs last year. The team does like him. I would be happy to have all 3 of these running backs on my roster, not at the same time probably, but if one of the Kansas City backs is available in your league, you should add him. Add Josh Kelly. Kelly seems like he is separated as the primary bell cow backup to Austin Eckler in Los Angeles. Add Josh Kelly. Denver Broncos, Greg Dulcich, was on injured reserve first 4 weeks. He's been activated off of it, or is about to be activated off of it. Albert Okwuegbunam was supposed to be the guy that, he was supposed to be the tight end 1 on the Denver. Sorry, guys. I'm just double checking the Dulcich thing. Yes. Okay. Greg Dulcich 3 days ago activated off injured reserve. I wanted to make sure I had that right. Alberto was supposed to be the tight end 1. He lagged behind in the preseason. He has seen a reduction in his snaps. He's not been productive in the regular season. He kind of peaked in week 1, and even the peak wasn't that great. Dulcich's profile is purely a receiving tight end, and rookies start slow, but there's a role in this offense for a tight end, and there's even a role for a quarterback and a head coach. I would add Dulcich right now. Every team needs a tight end, except outside of a handful of them. I would absolutely be adding Dulcich, because Dulcich effectively beat out Albert Okwuegbunam without Dulcich even playing. So go add Greg Dulcich. On the Raiders, Josh Jacobs, he's getting dual threat usage. Believe it. Go ahead and buy into it. Darren Waller, if he's out, Foster Moreau is the guy. I will double check to make sure that Foster Moreau is not dealing with anything. But like, Foster Moreau is starting in stead of Darren Waller, who's been very productive in the past. I think that he's a fine speculative add. AFC North. I think that Devin Duvernay is a rest of season play in Baltimore. Rashad Bateman again ruled out for this week, for week 6. It's a midfoot sprain. I mentioned last week that typically means a Liz Frank. That's not good. He could return, but think a different position. It's a different position. But like Najee Harris, he was dealing with a Liz Frank sprain in the preseason. Look at his season right now. Again, it's a different position, but that injury is just tough to explode through. So Devin Duvernay could be the number 1 wide receiver in Baltimore for weeks. And he did suffer an injury. But it is my understanding that this week he is good to go. But regardless, whether you're going to start him this week or not, I think that Duvernay is a good season-long play. Okay, so Duvernay is not even on the injury report, so I believe he is cocked, locked, ready to rock. And I'm just double checking the roster here to make sure that he wasn't some sort of sneaky add to the. Yeah, okay. All right, so Devin Duvernay is a rest of season play. As far as the running backs go, Dobbins shot out of the cannon in week 4. They drastically scaled his usage back in week 5. Kenyan Drake outsnapped him by 1. Dobbins is not playing very much on third down. I don't think he has the 2-minute drill. Go double check that, but he doesn't have third down. So you could buy low on Dobbins, but if you have him right now, you need to temper expectations. Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb, he's had a great schedule. Things tighten up here over the next few weeks and kind of through the rest of the season. And what we'll get is either decent run defenses or good offenses, which could push the game script more towards Kareem Hunt. It would be very hard to sell on Nick Chubb because he's been an absolute beast, and I think that they will continue to run him even when they are trailing. But I don't know if you could trade Nick Chubb for someone elite, like Stephon Diggs. Like, I'd do that. If Saquon Barkley has a down week and you could ship Chubb for Barkley plus someone, that might be something to consider. But again, only sell Nick Chubb excessively high. Cincinnati Bengals, Samaje Perine has the third down role over Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's got a lot of touches inside the 5, but some of those came on the same drive. Good job on the stealing bananas guys. They've been on that for a long time. Mixon's got a high workload, but he does not have third down. The team likes to rest him. Then it's stupid. Zach Taylor's stupid, but that's the reality of the situation. Pittsburgh Steelers, George Pickens, he's here to stay, and I think we're probably going to be ranking him as a regular wide receiver 2 by the end of the year. Patrick Kerrane noted on, I think it was Shit Chasing 2 weeks ago, that Chase Claypool was actually earning targets. Kind of surprising because he is a big body guy who is not a good contested catch receiver. I was very on him in the offseason. I've been very disappointed with his production this year, but he's earning targets. That's the thing to note, and you guys do with that what you will. Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett should absolutely be added at this point. He's got an array of weapons at his disposal. He has looked pretty dang good. He threw the ball, I think, 52 times last week. The team has shown that they are willing to let Kenny Pickett chuck it. So go at him if you are in need of a quarterback. Treylon Burks, Tennessee Titans, moving to the AFC South. Treylon Burks, you should add him. If he was dropped because of the foot injury, I would go at him right now. Kyle Phillips, that dream might be dead for 2022. I still like him a lot in Dynasty, but I've been surprised by his inability to earn targets. We might find out that shoulder injury has limited him, but Phillips, sometimes you got to kill your darlings here. Indianapolis Colts. Here's the deal with the backfield there. Jonathan Taylor has an inversion ankle sprain or a low lateral ankle sprain. It's not a high ankle. It was reported as high ankle, but we've had a few folks go look at Edwin Porras's Twitter timeline. He breaks it down shows you via the video that it is a low ankle sprain. So I think JT will be fine, but Nyheim Hines still working his way through the concussion protocol. Deion Jackson played very well last week. I don't think that Deion Jackson will just force his way into the lineup if both Taylor and Hines are active, but if they're limited, Deion Jackson is kind of a sneaky guy to roster in very deep leagues. Travis Etienne, Jacksonville Jaguars. We've talked about this a lot. I looked like a fool when I called James Robinson as a sit, I think in week 3. The issue here is just that Robinson on a per play basis is not generating a lot of yards. He broke long touchdown runs in weeks 1, 2, and 3, and then he didn't in weeks 4 and 5, and his yards per carry is like 2.6 or something. It's really bad. The Achilles is a factor. He is a success story because of what he's been able to do just by returning generally, but overall James Robinson's efficiency is a problem. Travis Etienne is getting more work. He's looking better. I think you need to be buying low on Travis Etienne right now. I would also buy low on Christian Kirk. Zay Jones's injury made them screw with Kirk's usage. Trust Christian Kirk. Nico Collins is trending in the right direction. He has limited ceiling because of the offense as a whole. They'll probably draft a new quarterback. Davis Mills has proven he's not the guy. So for Dynasty, assess your situation with Collins. Dameon Pierce does not yet have passing downs locked up. NFC, heading over to the NFC, in the NFC East, Devontae Smith, he is pulling even with A.J. Brown. He's a beast, and you should trust it. A.J. Brown, you still start him every week. He is fantastic. And he's fine as a wide receiver 1. He is a wide receiver 1. But Devontae Smith might also be a top 15, top 12 receiver by the end of the year. CeeDee Lamb sometimes has it in the box score, sometimes doesn't. His target share is phenomenal. His targets per out run, like super, super elite. Feel good about CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup heading in the right direction. Ezekiel Elliott is washed up beyond belief. Tony Pollard, they're not going to increase his workload, but he's really good, so he's just going to keep being efficient. I tell you to buy low on Tony Pollard, but I don't think that the team's going to veer away from Ezekiel Elliott on their own because Jerry Jones kind of controls the organization. There is an outside chance that, the Dan Snyder stuff, he's saying that he might have dirt on Jerry Jones. We'll see if anything comes of that. If there's a crazy matrix simulation here where Jerry Jones dumps the info, or excuse me, Dan Snyder dumps info on Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has to withdraw from Dallas Cowboys operations, and then the team decides, hey, Jerry's out of here. We can start increasing Tony Pollard's workload. That could happen. Do I think it's likely? No, probably not. Billionaires insulate themselves, and this league is a friggin' cocoon. But hey, we got to play all the ranges of outcomes. So do with that what you will. New York Giants, Daniel Jones, he's rushing really well. I wrote him up at 4 for 4 this week as a quarterback start. That section of the start sit article is free, so you can go get my full thoughts there on Daniel Jones. But he's got, I think, the same scramble rate. He's tied for top scramble rate in the NFL. It's 4.4 scrambles per game. It's tied with Jalen Hurts. His scramble efficiency, I think, is top 8 at the position. He's getting it done. I don't think I'd feel comfortable starting him every week over some of the more stable guys, but if you are in a situation where you don't have a great quarterback, you could do worse than starting Daniel Jones, depending on the matchup, but maybe even as just most of the time streaming option. Oh, and here's the thing. His pass catchers are kind of getting healthy. There's been some weirdness going on there, but Wendell Robinson, I believe he actually practiced Friday, today. I'm going to check that out right now. Wendell Robinson suffered a knee injury early in the year, and I might even have been a grade 2 ACL sprain. We didn't really get a lot of info. Yeah, so he's been practicing in a limited capacity. Wendell Robinson could be the number 1 target earner the first week that he's active. So if WDR is available, go add Wendell Robinson. Kadarius Toney, I'm holding him, but I mean, okay. Kadarius Toney reminds me very, very much of Martavis Bryant, who was a terrifically talented wide receiver. It seems to me that there's some serious red flags here. I mean, that's obvious. I'm getting I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking at my phone because I'm getting news updates. So CeeDee Lamb was added to the injury report with a hip injury and is questionable. Feeling is he will be good for the game, but it's something to monitor. Dak is listed as questionable for Sunday Night Football. You cannot trust Dak because you can't have a quarterback who may or may not play as your starter, who's playing on a late slate or late in the day. If you have someone who, quarterback starting Monday night and you feel okay about it, or, his opposition on Sunday, then that's an option. I would not trust Dak right now this week. It sounds like CeeDee Lamb is going to play. If he's active, then don't overthink it. Just play CeeDee Lamb. We'll learn more. There was something there about Jordan Peters too, as potentially playing. I don't know. I mean, Peters, he would absolutely be an upgrade, but he's just listed as questionable. So we don't know what the deal is there. But what I'm taking from this is that a week from now and potentially rest of season, with Dak back and Jason Peters in the fold, that would be really good. So if you have an opportunity to maybe buy low on the Dallas Cowboys pass catchers, then I'd say do it. But back to the Giants, Wendell Robinson, buy. In the good B-U-Y. Kadarius Toney, I'm holding him, but, he supposedly has hamstring injuries in both legs, which is preposterous. That either it's a lie, or he is not taking his rehabilitation seriously. Neither one is good. I can't cut him yet, but, do with him what you will. Tight end Dan Bellinger. Darius Slayton. I was very high on Darius Slayton in the draft process, but the team, for whatever reason, tried to force him out of the lineup. Very bizarre. He finally played last week. He balled out, predictably, because he's a pretty decent Z receiver. Slayton, I think you can start this week as a wide receiver 4, high end wide receiver 4. I think he's a flex play. But tight end Dan Bellinger, the guy just keeps slowly trending up. We saw what Brian Dable was able to do with Dawson Knox last year. Last year wasn't sustainable, and Dawson Knox might just not be that talented. But there's the status of the pass catching core in New York is, it's an available one, and anything that we can get, if we can see any sort of signs from at the tight end position that a guy might be able to contribute, then you should invest in it. I mean, kind of even if you have an elite guy, like I'm not saying that you should cut like Jalen Warren. Don't do that if you have Travis Kelce, but JD McKissick, maybe, if you're working with like Gerald Everett and you could cut one of these so limited ceiling bench stashes for Dan Bellinger, I would do it. Brian Robinson, I was wrong, and he has, recovered from bullet wounds, and he's the running back 1 in Washington. Believe it. NFC West, stash Elijah Mitchell. I'm seeing him cut in some of my leagues, and if he is cutting yours, you should add him. I think that he could be a big-time player down the stretch. Tyrion Davis-Price has returned from a high ankle sprain. Typically, those can nuke someone's full season, so we don't know what he's going to look like. 1, because he hasn't played, and 2, because he's coming off high ankle. It's entirely possible 2022 is just out the window for him. But running backs in the San Francisco scheme are really, really smart ads. So if Tyrion Davis-Price was dropped, the dude's been practicing this week, I would go ahead and add him. George Kittle running a ton of routes. Very bizarre. I thought that he was going to be asked to block a lot because Trent Williams is dealing with whatever injury a high ankle sprain. But he's not. George Kittle's running a ton of routes, so get him in there. I foolishly benched him for like Robert Tonyan last week or something. Don't do that. Keep George Kittle in there. The big plays are a coming. Nothing to tell you on Los Angeles Rams. You kind of know the status. I mean, Cam Akers was excused from playing this week for a personal reason, and so Darrell Henderson Jr. will be the lead back there, and it's a great matchup against Carolina. But nothing really to add. I like Van Jefferson's pretty hard to buy into. Grade 2 ACL sprain confirmed. That he tried to rehab it, couldn't, and then ended up on injured reserve. I don't love that. You can drop Allen Robinson. Arizona Cardinals, Marquise Brown. I am believing in Marquise Brown as a season-long play, even when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. DeAndre Hopkins was decent last year. I think that he can continue to play like okay. He can be a PPR contributor, but he's a very physical jump ball receiver, and he's getting a lot older. So, I don't know that we really want to like be banking big time on DeAndre Hopkins. I don't expect him to just be a wide receiver 2 when he returns. I think that I'll still be ranking Marquise Brown inside the top 24, if not higher, because that dude is earning targets. He's playing in the short, intermediate, and deep areas of the field. I really like what I'm seeing from Marquise Brown. We are all metaphorically sacrificed. I shouldn't even make that joke, but it was going to be lambs, people, not anything gruesome. But Cliff Kingsbury needs to go. Okay, as far as the Seattle Seahawks goes, I would be trusting Geno Smith. Sorry, I'm just checking news here. I'd be trusting Geno Smith, but the problem is that Pete Carroll can pull the rug out from under us. He will at some point. Like, it'll all come crashing down. Until then, start your guys. Trust them. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, they are killing it, and I would just be keeping them in every week and not even don't overthink it. Kenneth Walker is going to be just a total monster, and hopefully you got him if he was a free agent. NFC North, nothing really to say on Minnesota here. Madison's playing at an increased rate with Dalvin Cook's shoulder stuff, but I'm not fading Dalvin Cook, and I think that the shoulder's it's going to improve. He is going to be fine, and I believe he's got some kind of fun matchups on the way here, and I'm just double checking what their schedule looks like down the stretch. So they've got Miami. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe even buy low here because they've got Miami, and then it's a bye. Then Arizona, Washington, Buffalo. some questionable stuff in there, and then Dallas, people might be a little bit afraid of him. I'm not. I think that the workloads really are pretty decent, especially given that he's playing through a shoulder that was just kind of dislocated. Here I am saying that there's not a lot to say about Minnesota, but yeah, I'm not worried about these guys. Some strange stuff going on in Green Bay as far as the play calling goes. I think that it was Silva who mentioned on the NFC recap this week. They changed their playing style quite a bit, half to half last week, and Rodgers likes to be playing a little bit more of a gunslinger, and the team can sometimes get a little bit conservative. I don't think it's anything to overthink, but it's something to monitor just to kind of figure out the complexion of the offense, how it is they're going to be moving forward. The running backs have been underperforming. I think that Tonyan is a buy low. I'm still very high on Dubs, but maybe we need to treat Dubs and Lazard more as like wide receiver 3s rather than potential weekly wide receiver 2 candidates. I still like all of these pieces, but I think that the play calling is something to just note and monitor. Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney, the volume is kind of coming together, but it's still so abysmal. He had 12 targets on the Thursday night football game last night, and he finished with 7 catches for 68 yards. It's pretty dang bad. If you can sell high off the workload, I would do that. I do think that the workload might stabilize, and the ceiling is going to be pretty limited. So as far as Detroit goes, try to go see if Jameson Williams is available. He's probably been stashed, but in the event that he's not, you should absolutely go add Jameson Williams to your roster. Other than that, we love all of our Lions. NFC South, and I think, yeah, this is the end of the list here. Rachaad White is a league-winning bench stash. Probably the number 1 over Jalen Warren, but I really do like Jalen Warren. And actually, I don't know if I really covered him there. Jalen Warren has won the pass catching role for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that he could take the number 1 running back role, like overall. Najee Harris, he's still dealing with a foot issue, and he already is a really, really, really slow running back. He's talented, but the guy is abysmally slow. Jalen Warren is not. He's a pretty good athlete. He's got the passing game locked up. And Tomlin this week said, we've been playing Jalen Warren a lot, and we're going to continue to increase his role. So I was very high on the San Francisco running backs as bench stashes this year. I have dropped them in most leagues to add Jalen Warren. So that gives you a barometer for how much I like them. And I like Rachaad White even more than Jalen Warren. So you need to add Rachaad White. Rachaad White, he wasn't as splashy last week as he was, I think, 2 weeks ago. But the usage, how much they're putting him on the field and in passing down situations, they gave him like a goal line carry and everything. It's trending in the right direction. So you need to have Rachaad White on your roster. Russell Gage, it's just really rough. Sell him if you can, but he might be one of the rare wide receiver bench stashes. New Orleans Saints, tons and tons of injuries here. I am very surprised that Jameis Winston was ruled out. He practiced all week, perhaps only in a limited capacity, but he practiced all week. Andy Dalton is getting the start again for week 6. Winston has a back injury and an ankle injury, so maybe they're playing conservative and they want him full health. I suppose that they might have playoff aspirations, and maybe that's why they're keeping. Maybe that's why they're keeping him kind of under wraps. I'm actually going to go. I'm just looking at the NFC standings right now. So NFC South, Bucks are 3-2 at first place. Saints 2-3, Falcons 2-3, Panthers 1-1. The Saints are number 2 points scored with 115. Falcons are 118, actually leading the NFC South. The Saints have 128 points against, which is the most in the division. Yeah, so they got Jameis Winston out. Michael Thomas has some sort of a foot injury, not the foot that was causing problems in the past. Jarvis Landry is also out with an ankle injury. Chris Olave has a concussion right now. He's progressing through the concussion protocol. He got it limited yesterday. That's good. He, I think, was limited today, which may be a sign that he's not going to play, because you want them full in terms of how they proceed through the concussion protocol, it would have been like if he was full and then didn't have onset or symptoms onset, or come on, whatever, then he would probably be playing. Like that's the final stage. We don't know what Olave's status is, but I would be buying low on or buying high. Like Chris Olave is the most talented wide receiver on the team. He's up there with Drake London as the best in the class. And I think that we just get to keep watching them duke it out for that title. If the fantasy manager who has Chris Olave is in a rough spot and they don't have a start for this week and Olave gets rolled out, send a good offer over there for Olave, because he is succeeding even with Andy Dalton under center, and that's fantastic. Love us some Chris Olave. Drake London, super elite. The downside of this offense is that just the passing volume is so low, but he's like top 5 in targets per route run. He is dominating. From an efficiency perspective, I wrote him up at PFF this week. Go read that. It's behind the paywall, but go, if you have a subscription, go check out Drake London. The dude is a special talent. He can be volatile just because of the nature of the passing offense. I get that. But the nice thing with the Falcons offense is their upcoming schedule. So San Francisco, maybe ball control, but it's a good offense. It might force Atlanta to throw more. Then they get Cincinnati. That will force Atlanta to throw more. Carolina, they can probably be efficient and scoot out of there. After that, Chargers, going to throw more. Carolina, efficiency. Probably same thing with the Bears. Carson Wentz is hucking it in Washington. Then they get Pittsburgh. Point is, there are a number of matchups over the next 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, probably 4 of the 8, or maybe 5 of the 8, where their pass rate should escalate from what it has been as of late. So I'm optimistic that Drake London's overall volume will increase, and that he should be able to maintain his elite efficiency because he's just that good. As far as the running backs go, it's very muddled. Tyler Algier is getting good usage. He didn't get any targets last week, but he did top the running back routes run chart. So that's really promising. When Cordell Patterson comes back, maybe Tyler Algier maintains some sort of a passing down role. I would be buying low on, or buying whatever on Tyler Algier. Don't overpay, because they do have Patterson. Damian Williams is going to be returning. It's muddled, but chaos is a ladder. So do with that what you will. As far as Carolina goes, under interim head coach, I think it's Steve Wilkes, defensive-minded guy. I think that they'll go. I think that what he's going to do, he's just going to try to get them through the season. Maybe they sell. There were trade talks or trade rumors that Buffalo was interested in Christian McCaffrey, which would be McCaffrey already more to the moon than he already is. But what I imagine they're going to do is they're going to control the clock, and they are going to just try to get the ball to their playmakers, which Matt Rule is a moron and couldn't figure that one out. I think that McCaffrey will get a lot of touches. I think DJ Moore will get a lot of touches. The passing, the situation there with PJ Walker is just abysmal. This will be more of a volume than it is an efficiency offense, and they will try to get out early. So if they can, basically, like the least, they will play the least amount of plays that they can play, but they will try to be as efficient as possible. That's what I think of Wilkes. So you can start your studs, and then basically outside of that, I think you trade him away. Or just you don't need to have Robbie Anderson rostered. And as far as like Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman go, they're not really necessary for 12-team redrafted leagues. All right, that's going to do it for us, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you have any start-sit questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Nic Bodiford, Nic, N-I-C, Bodiford, B-O-D-I-F-O-R-D, NFL, at Nic Bodiford, NFL. You can hit all of us up at NerdBall FF on Twitter. Follow us across all of the accounts. Twitter, Instagram, we're on Patreon too. But yeah, good luck everybody in week 6 and rest of season. Talk to you next week.